Hi everyone, this is Marco from bn-games.com, and we're here doing a new special segment called 1-to-1 Scale. What this segment is not so much a review as much as a kind of a segment where we like to show off things that we're into. Everyone here at bn-games.com has kind of a different interest, be it anime or comics or movies. So this is a segment where I hope we will be able to show off a lot of the things that we're into along the lines. Today I'd actually like to start off with one of my personal favorites, which is the Super Sentai or Power Ranger series. So we're going to go ahead and start off with one of my favorite recent additions, which is this guy here. This is the Super Robot Chogokin Daizyujin, better known as the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Megazord here in America. This is actually the Japanese version. There will be an American version of this coming within the next, say, month or two, and I'll have a little bit more information on that towards the end of the video. This is part of the Super Robot Chogokin line, which is essentially a line that has a lot of the more popular robots in Japan, and they're all cast in plastic, and Chogokin, which is basically die-cast metal. They stand anywhere from about 140 millimeters high or larger on some of these. This particular one is about that range, and they feature multiple accessories. The best thing that you can equate these to is probably figure arts, if you're any sort of a collector. They're very highly articulated. They are highly accurate to the show, and they're just some of the greatest works that you can get as far as show accurate and posability. So as you can see here, we're going to go ahead and look at the box first. And I actually received this as a gift from Bobby, who got this for me for Christmas, so I really appreciate that. I got around to opening it a couple of minutes before doing this video. I had known about him for a while before, but I figured I might as well go ahead and do this video since he got it. So here we have Daizyujin, and just to compare him as far as size goes, I have a little 50mm tall Kirby here who's looking pretty badass, if I do say so myself, and I'd like to stand him next to a D-Arts Mega Man X, which is actually Bobby's, and I'll probably end up doing reviews for these at some later date. So you can see he definitely stacks up pretty well. When it comes to weight, though, he's definitely super heavy because of the fact that he is made mostly of metal. And here I went a little bit old school, and I went ahead and compared him next to the 91 Megazord. He's looking a little bit short here, as you can see. Although the Megazord is definitely a lot bigger, they're probably pretty close in weight, which is actually kind of impressive. Obviously, the new model has better overall lines and details because of the way it's made, but all things considered, I'm really happy with the size that he is. So as far as the detailing on the Zord, that probably has to be the highlight of the Zord itself. Some of the cleanest lines. Now, one thing that I do have to talk about is the fact that this is not 100% accurate to the original show or the toy itself. It's kind of an amalgamation of both, because it is more humanoid than the toy, which was closer to the TV show, but at the same time it has to lose some of what the actual show had to make it more posable and allow it to do a lot more. So for example, you see on the feet there, you have a bit of a split that allows you to make him more posable and allows him to go into a full, almost running pose, if you will. As you can see in the back here, they also took some liberties as far as the original design, because if they had stuck with the original design, obviously they wouldn't be able to do a lot of the poses. Overall, I'm really happy with the design that they chose. I think it's very modern, yet at the same time definitely keeps all of the traditional things that made the Megazord very unique. As far as articulation goes, he's super articulated. He has 2 joints on his head, which you can see here. You can pivot his neck and his head. Those are 2 separate joints. His arms are able to go up to, I believe, actually higher than a 90-degree angle here, as you can see, and the shoulder guards don't get in the way, which is something that happens with a lot of the toys that tend to have shoulder guards. They will block out the ability for you to go past a certain degree. There's no problem with this one at all. You have the full swing of the arm. You can do a full 360-degree spin. The arms themselves have a joint so that you can actually have him hold his arm all the way up to his chest, and there's a couple of reasons for doing that, and you'll see that in a couple of the poses that I put him in. Works very, very well. It doesn't protrude or get in the way of anything. The articulation definitely works. He has a ball joint on his arm, which is completely removable. You can remove that and switch it out to some of the other arms and hands, I'm sorry, and I will be showing those off here in a second. He can also pivot based on the fact that it is a ball joint and completely twisted, as you can see here. He also has the ability to flip his arm to the side and completely raise it. And he also has a shoulder forward and backward movement, which is something I really wasn't expecting. You don't really see that a lot on too many of the figures. Makes him look like he's beefy. See there? Yeah. It actually works really, really well with the poses. Going down to the stomach, you have a bit of a side-to-side swivel, although not as much as you would in most figures. Although he does have an accordion-style stomach, meaning he can extend up and down and do full, I guess you would call them ab crunches at that point. And he can do side-to-side, just no actual turning as far as the 360 degree. It's kind of limited. But it works well enough because just based on the design, you really wouldn't have him bending over too much anyways. He also has these skirt guards, which allow him to move his legs forward, backward, left, and right on each respective leg, so that you don't have impaired movement. As you can see here, if you don't move it, you're obviously locked down to this degree. And then once you move that skirt guard to the side, you have a much higher degree of attack because of the fact that he can then move his leg. As far as folding his leg in, it can go completely back and fold in onto itself, which is great because that just gives you that much more room to put him into different poses. Like I said, if you move the skirt guard to the side, he has a much wider attack of actually putting his legs and moving the forward one here. You can do that on both, like I said. You can definitely get him to go to a much higher attack pose, as you can see here. Now moving down to the feet, he does have a ball joint on both, which allows him to fully pivot left, right, forward, bottom. And it also actually extends out to give him a little bit more range. And you're able to fold both the Triceratops and Saber-Toothed Tiger heads forward, which allows him to take a sort of running start position or crouch down if need be. With the Saber-Toothed Tiger, it's a bit different. You actually fold back the feet and then you extend it down and you're able to pivot it up, where you don't need to do you don't need to pull anything to the side. You simply pull the foot down on the Triceratops side. And you can see here that it still has the full ball joint access, so you're still able to get all of the poses out of it. And then you simply put it back. It pops back and clicks back into place, and it's good as done. You can see the back here. You have the cannons. Now, this is one of the things that I really like that this does. In the show, there was actually no way for these cannons to come up, but they took the liberty of going ahead and adding that, which is, like I said, something that, while it may not be show accurate or toy accurate, it adds so much more to the figure, because then you have a lot more that you can do with it. Now you have the ability to pose it with these cannons that give it just so much firepower, and honestly, they were there and they didn't do anything before, so it's great that they add something like this. Each of these is on a ball joint which can collapse in on itself, and it actually locks into place pretty securely, which is really, really nicely done. by having these as an extra moving part, you can also have them add an effect of damage, because then you can set them off slightly from where they should be, and it just looks like he was severely damaged, or is maybe not the way he should be. Moving on to accessories, the first accessories we're going to talk about are his hands. He comes with two sets, one set of splayed hands, one set of holding hands. The splayed hands are great for giving him a lot of emotion, and also having him look like he's reaching out for things, which is something that you maybe think you don't need, but it works really well, and most of these figures come with splayed hands anyways, so it's nice to have. It gives him a lot of freedom and a lot of things that he can do. And then obviously he has his holding hands. These holding hands are going to be for his two primary weapons that it comes with. Those two primary weapons are these guys. So first off, we have the Mammoth Shield, also known as the Mastodon Shield here in the US, and we have the God Horn. So let's go ahead and start off with the Mastodon Shield. As you can see here, it is just as high quality as the rest of the sword is. Super high quality, super detailed. One thing that kind of does bother me a little bit is the color on the tusk and on the trunk itself is actually off. It should be a lighter, in my opinion, color, but I can learn to live with it. Obviously, you can't move it like you could on the original version, but that's just going to make it a lot better and make it last a lot longer. Moving on to the God Horn, aka the Power Sword, this is probably my favorite piece of the whole set. The amount of detail that's in this thing is just astounding. The details that you can see here are all fully painted on both sides. Something that we really don't see in American toy releases. Why? Because obviously the more you have to do on a figure, the more it's going to cost you in the long run. And by no means is this a cheap figure, but because you're paying what you're paying, you're definitely getting quality. So as you can see here, it has really nice details on both sides, and they both match. They're both fully painted. Really nice Bandai silver that they're really popular for. The hilt of the sword itself has a very nice textured feel to it, which helps it grip on very much. And I will say, and I've heard this before, that point on the top of the sword is very pointy. I actually hurt myself while doing this review. But ultimately, when you put it together, it holds it really well. Now, this is one of the other effect parts that you get, and I'm really happy that they did this. This is the legendary lightning cut effect. When the Megazord would do his finisher, he would have a large amount of lightning come over the sword, and then he would slash and do his finisher. Rather than include it as a separate part, they actually included it as an attachment to the sword, which works really well. It's a soft plastic piece with a lot of really nice molded lightning effect part, I guess you could call it. Works really well. It achieves the effect that it wants because of the fact that it passes a light through so well. Really happy with that. Now, this is actually kind of a weird one. This is the energy beam, aka the cranial laser. They didn't use this too much as far as I remember. This actually attaches to the horn of the Megazord, and he would be able to shoot these. I know he was also able to shoot these out of his eyes. Obviously, they didn't include anything for that, but this is a pretty nice touch, I like to think. As you can see, you can separate it here, and you can actually change the area of attack for the effect, give it a bit of a split, or make it a little bit more interesting and dynamic. Really thin though, so I do recommend you be very careful with it, especially since it doesn't attach to such a small point. In conclusion, Super Robot Chogokin Daizyujin is an excellent figure. While he may be a bit on the pricey side, he embodies what collectors look for in these kinds of figures. Super show accurate details and great accessories definitely make him worth every penny. Currently, he's pre-orderable through Toys R Us, although he is also purchasable through Amazon, and he should be hitting Toys R Us shelves anywhere from February to March. Just on a real quick note, I do want to note that you should not be confusing this with the special diecast reissue of the 2010 Megazord that's going to be released within a couple months. Well, everyone, that was our first 1-to-1 scale. Please subscribe, let us know what you think. Thank you very much.